Hello viewers, welcome back to the Cakers channel. In this video we're going to be decorating this beautiful 3-tiered Afro theme cake. If you'd like to see how I achieve this look, please stay to the end of this video. Remember to like, share and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more cake decorating videos and more educational tips and tricks. We're starting off this video by making our dark chocolate ganache. And for this we're using 1 part cream to 2 parts dark chocolate. And I use the microwave method to melt for 10 seconds and I mix until I'm satisfied with the consistency. I now put my chocolate ganache aside and I'm filling my cake. So this is a 6-inch chocolate cake and I'm filling and stacking the cake layers. I have a detailed video as to how I fill and stack my cake, so I will leave the link to that video down below in the description box so you can check it out for more details. So the liquid that you see me sprinkling over the cake layers, that is called simple syrup. And simple syrup is equal part white sugar or granulated sugar with equal parts water, and it was brought to a boil and then left to cool. And that is what I use to put over my cakes to help to keep them moist. I am now applying the chocolate ganache to my cake that I made earlier. The reason for covering this cake with chocolate ganache is because I'll be finishing off the design with fondant. And this cake will be traveling to a venue not far from me. However, this is my first time traveling with a 3-tiered cake and I want as much support as I can possibly get. So a chocolate ganache base will be firmer underneath my fondant and less likely to get damaged on my journey. So the bottom tier of this cake is an 8-inch lemon cake. And as you can see, I baked my cake layers in 2 8-inch pans and they're about 3 to 4 inches in height. I then went ahead and used a long serrated knife to cut each layer in half. So now I have 4 cake layers stacking on each other. Now that I have stacked all my cake layers together, I'm using my leveling tool to ensure that my cake is level. This step is very crucial because you must get it right from the foundation of building the cake. So if you don't have level cake layers to start with, your cakes will not sit evenly on each other when you're ready to stack your tiers together. I'm now applying a thin layer of buttercream around my cake, the crumb coat, and then I'll let the cake sit in the fridge for about 20 minutes while I work on the other tiers. While my bottom tier is in the fridge setting, I'm using a very sharp knife to cut away the excess chocolate ganache from the middle tier that I just crumb coated. So I did this because I want to get very sharp edges. If you have sharp edges with your chocolate ganache, then when you apply the fondant to the cake, you will automatically get very sharp edges. So if the cake is not straight and smooth, then your buttercream will look very rough and not neatly applied. The top tier of this cake is a small 4-inch red velvet cake. I did that bit off camera because I'm sure you don't want to see me stacking and filling 3 different tiers of cake. So now I'm going to be applying the fondant to my cake covered in chocolate ganache. For this tier, I'm using the upside down paneling method to cover the cake. So first I will cover the top of the cake with some fondant. So I'm using white fondant, I roll it thin, I use water as my adhesive, and I'm using my fondant smoother to smooth the top. I then get a cake board, put some cornstarch on it to prevent the fondant from sticking to the board, and then I carefully flipped my cake upside down. So now I cut away the excess fondant from the cake while it's already flipped, measuring the sides, and I'm going to roll out a fondant long enough to cover all the way around the sides of the cake. Once my fondant is at the right length and width, I will cut off the excess, put some cornstarch on it, and roll it up in my small rolling pin. And then I carefully wrap the fondant around the cake. Then the next step is to use a ruler and a very sharp X-Acto blade to cut the fondant while it overlaps, and then use some water to join the two pieces together. And look at how seamless that is. I then use my blade to cut the excess fondant from the top, and I'm flipping my cake again. And that is called the upside down paneling method. It works perfectly with covering cakes, and that's the method I use to cover all my tiers. Now that all the tiers are covered in fondant, the decorating process begins. So this is the top tier of the cake, and it will just be having some black zebra-like patterns running on the cake. So I'm just cutting tiny strips of black fondant in random shapes and sizes, and I'm just steaming the cake as I go along to help it to become sticky so that my fondant can stick to the cake. I will then cut the excess bits from the top of the cake, and that is the design finish. So that is the top tier of the cake. For the bottom tier of the cake, I'm cutting some safari animals out of some black fondant. What I did was to print them on regular paper, just regular printing sheet, and use the printing sheet as a stencil to cut the fondant out. So before applying them to the bottom tier, I'm just using my airbrush to spray this earthy orangey color to the base and to the top of the cake, leaving the middle section of it white. While the airbrushed cake is drying, I rolled out a thin piece of red fondant and I'm cutting out the continents from it. So I did the same thing where I printed it on some plain paper, and I'm using the paper to just trace out the shape of the continents, and then I'll cut them out from the red fondant. I then covered a large styrofoam ball with white fondant, and I carefully applied the continent on it. I made this cool hand off camera using gum paste and some floral wires as support. I'm now spraying it with my handheld airbrush with gold, and this hand will be holding the globe on top of the cake. I made some piping paste by adding water to the black fondant and just mixing it together until it becomes pipeable, and then I added it to a piping bag, and that is what I'll be using to pipe the trees between the safari animals when I place them on the bottom tier. I'm giving my golden hand a second coat of spray with my edible luster dust spray because I want the gold to be very vibrant. Now onto the stacking of my cake and the adding of all the final details and decorations. Remember that internal support is very, very important for tiered cakes. So in my 8-inch layer, I have 6 jumbo straws that is supporting the 6-inch tier. And in the 6-inch tier, I have 4 jumbo straws that is supporting the 4-inch tier on top. This is the final look of the cake. I added the final touches at the venue. So I added the hand and the globe at the venue. And everyone loved the cake. It was super amazing, and of course it was delicious. If you did like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more cake decorating videos. Until next time, keep on baking.